Pass around the sign-in sheet, so if you haven't signed in already, please sign in when it comes around. It'd be much appreciated. Ready to do whatever you want.
We'll let the sign-in sheet make its rounds. We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting for Lafayette Township Board of Trustees and Fire District, September 11th, 7 o'clock p.m. The notice requirements of Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code and implementing rules adopted by the board pursuant thereto were complied with for this meeting. Roll call.
O'Neill here.
Warcola here.
Fullerton here. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everyone can remain standing for just a moment, bow your heads for a moment of silence, in remembrance of all those who were lost at 9/11 and all of our people that still fight every day to try to keep us safe and free. Thank you very much.
Show of hands, who's here for all the swearing-ins? Okay, quite a few, all right. Your lucky day, I'm gonna move you up on the agenda. So. All right, we're gonna do a couple things and then we'll get you guys going. Apparently there's cake and ice cream out back that they're gonna have a party while we're in here, so. All right, to the trustees, have you guys had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting, October 7th?
I have.
Any discussions? Motion to approve?
Looks good to me. I'd move that we approve the meeting minutes.
I'll second.
That'd be for the meeting Monday, August 7th.
All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, all right. 07, or, no, phew. August 7th, minutes approved. All right, consent agenda. Have all of you gotten the reports from the different departments?
Yes.
Yes.
Concerns, questions, comments?
None here.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'd move to approve the consent agenda for fiscal, fire, police, service, and zoning.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. All right, we're gonna bump fire up. Chief?
Yes, sir.
We'll start with your report, and then we'll swear everybody in, and then after that, if there's no questions from the trustees, you guys can take your party to the back.
Sounds good. Try
All
to
right.
keep quiet.
And, Chief, and for all those that are going to give reports, if there's anything that specifically isn't in the report that you already gave us in writing, please call that out. That way we're not double adding it in, since we include the reports in all the meeting minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just read this real quick. We had 56 calls in August. 3 were in Chatham Township, 43 in Lafayette Township, 1 in Montville Township, 2 in the village of Chippewa Lake, 4 in Gloria Glens, 1 in Westfield Center, 2 in Westfield Township, and total of 56. 71% were EMS calls. Our average turnout time is 2 minutes and 5 seconds, which is pretty good. That's 24 hours a day. Our average to-scene time is 6 minutes and 20 seconds. We gave mutual aid to Chatham. We gave mutual aid to Westfield. We automatically mutual aid in Westfield. We gave mutual aid again to Westfield, Chatham, and Montville Township. And then just a couple brief things. We participated in National Night Out on August 8th. On August 11th, we conducted CPR for Cloverleaf Local School bus drivers. We've ordered 3 automatic external defibrillators through the Firefighters Association. And we've also ordered hand tools, including battery-operated saws for rescue, purchased from Night at the Races from last year. Cody Uniac, Luke Uravac, and Allison Jadlos completed the grain bin awareness course. This was a free course offered by Medina County Farm Bureau. Our department also attended a Step Up and Lead course from Fire Chief Frank Vescuso from Newark, New Jersey on August 30th. Tara Powell, Jessica White, and Christian Hall finished Fire Officer 1, and we're requesting the 4 of them go to Fire Officer 2 course, which is adding captain's master's to that. The cost would be $2,000. We discussed that. We have the money in our budget to do that on the training and meetings account. And Will Gross will be taking Fire Safety Inspector course on September 18th. That cost is $675. And again, a reminder: Night at the Races is September 30th. Tickets are still available, so hopefully to see everybody there. And yesterday, our department participated in the Tunnel Tower Run Walk yesterday at Medina. A great organization. The organization builds smart homes for wounded veterans, pays off mortgages for fallen police officers and firefighters. We have some of those representatives here today. And again, today marks 22 years since that tragic day of September 11th. And before we get into the swearing in, I just want to read something from Father Michael Judd, who is the chaplain for the New York Fire Department. And this was a September 10th homily that he gave to firefighters in New York City. This is the little blurb. That's the way it is. Good days and bad days. Up days and down days. Sad days, happy days. But never a boring day on this job. You do what God has called you to do. You show up, you put one foot in front of another, you get on that rig, and you go out and you do the job, which is a mystery and a surprise. You have no idea when you get on that rig, no matter how big the call, no matter how small, you have no idea what God is calling you to do. But He needs you, and He needs me, and He needs all of us. And tonight we have 4 new firefighters that we're going to go ahead and swear in. And it's a great honor to have these new people. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them. And we're going to kind of go over there where that door's open, and we're going to close that off. And if the 4 new guys come on up here, and ladies. Lined up here. So this is Austin Bruckman. He's a firefighter 2 paramedic. He comes from Medina. He's been on Medina Fire Department for about a year, and he's doing great work out there, and we're hoping he's going to do great work for us as well here. Scott Powers is a Cleveland firefighter, EMT, and he's going to come work for us out here as well, and he's also going to do wonderful things. And Dr. Kelly Parker, I've known for maybe 30 plus years or so. She was a veterinarian. Many of you have worked with her or seen her as a vet, and she's going to become hopefully a firefighter 2, paramedic eventually, and an awesome asset to our department. And then there's Pete Muha, who I worked with at LST for probably 15 to 16 years with Pete, and he's an outstanding paramedic, and he recently got his Fire 2 in the past 5 years or so, or 3 years, I guess, 3 or 4 years. Yeah, so he's looking forward to doing some firefighting as well. So we'll go ahead and swear all of them in, and just from experience of me getting sworn in, I forget my lines, so I'm giving everybody a copy of theirs so they can follow along with the. And again, thank you guys for taking this step and helping our department. It's an awesome opportunity for us and for you guys as well. So thank you again.
Right hand. I state your name.
I
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
and the state of Ohio
and the state of Ohio
against all enemies, both foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
as emergency responder of the Lafayette Township Fire District
as emergency responder of the Lafayette Township Fire District
under the appointment of the department
under the appointment of the department
according to the laws of the state of Ohio, Lafayette Township, and Medina County.
according to the laws of the state of Ohio, Lafayette Township, and Medina County.
To the best of my skills and abilities, so help me God.
To the best of my skills and abilities, so help me God.
All right, to all the firefighters and families that are here for that event, there's some cake, and anybody that doesn't want to stay at the meeting can have cake too. But we'll be right out here in the fire department side, so. All right, thank you. We can go that way. I opened that door over there, so you guys can go out that way. to the left. Thank you. Thank you.
You guys really know how to clear a room.
Like I said, have Chief send a few people back, we're kind of empty now. Room's lopsided.
If you guys need it, if you need me, I can come right back, so just let me know.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Chief.
That's what happens when you have cake.
Yes.
All right. So fire is done. Fiscal, Laura, anything not on your report that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I am requesting a supplement of the cemetery budget. We have $45,000 in the cemetery fund. We appropriated way less than that, and I'm asking for $4,000 additional to cover the striping and seal coating at Walt Cemetery.
I would make a motion that we approve that appropriation.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Anything else, Laura?
No, sir.
That's it.
I have a question. Is it contractors, the township?
Contractor,
Contractor? Who's the contractor?
most. Correct? Yep.
Most?
Most paving, yeah.
Okay. Service, Rick, anything on your report, or not on your report you want to talk about, or?
No, everything's on there. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that, you know, I was trying to get a hold of some contractors to repair up there on Ryan Road where that dozer was unloaded in the road. And how disappointing, you know, the road was only 3 weeks old. But, we're still working at it, so. But to try to get these contractors now is like trying to pull teeth, because they're trying to finish their projects up for the season. One other thing was up on Fairway Landing, Ryan Holmes, hired their own contractor to, replace, there's about 24 foot, 25 foot of curb up there that they broke when that during construction. So Ryan Holmes is paying to have that curb redone. about it, I mean, that I've got.
All right, yeah, Rick and I have been talking with Lepo. Actually, I went down to Canton and talked to them, and they've agreed to pay for the damages on Ryan Road. Like Rick said, the unfortunate part is we're having a hard time finding an asphalt contractor to come and do such a little job, so I had Rick do some homework, and he put it on his force account just to figure out so we can get a quote of what it would cost us to go down there and reseal it, which I think we're gonna have to. It's gonna be $3,250, but Lepo's agreed to pay whoever that's gonna fix it, so that's where we're at with that. Anything else, Rick?
No, nothing. I did order, I got salt coming tomorrow. The trucking company called me and told me they were gonna bring the salt in, start trucking it in tomorrow. Get 500, they're gonna bring 500 tons.
Good. Did they give you a date of when that would, 500 would be here on site by
No.
chance?
No, I think tomorrow's gonna be a rainy day, and so they have a bunch of, I'm sure they have a bunch of trucks freed up, because it's gonna be a rainy day.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I do have one more thing on service. We talked last meeting that I did not want to bring it up for vote, but I would like to talk about it again this meeting. And we do have Tom Lewis in the crowd here with us. And I would like him to stand and talk about the cost of the truck, his company. Tom?
Yeah.
Can you come up here, Tom, if that's all right with you? So we can all hear you. Just introduce yourself, company you're with, and then, so like I talked about last month, R&R Mac is actually lower than the state bid. We'll have Tom tell us all about that stuff, but just to recap what we talked about last month. The cab and chassis is $130,000 to outfit the truck with the bed and the spreader. Marty's company's donating the plow, right? You said that, so which is super awesome. But that would be $110,000. So I'll just kind of stop right there, Tom, if you want to let us know what ODOT bid and they're extending it. And
Yeah, the cost of the way we spec the truck out through the ODOT contract for this year was $129,335. And there again, like you said, the body company will put their package onto this truck. The contract run from August of last year to August of this year. We were just in the process of bidding for next year. ODOT extended us to the end of September on the old pricing contract. They're gonna rebid this contract, like everything else. The prices are gonna go up on next year's contracts. So it's something you guys might wanna really consider on, if you're gonna pull the trigger, to pull it before this contract ends. I'll have a better idea in 2 weeks what our new pricing is gonna be at ODOT when we turn their bids in for this next contract. And there again, this is the same contract that I've done with Westfield Township, a number of townships down in Wayne County. It seems to work out pretty well. The nice thing with the ODOT contract, when I bid that to ODOT, it is for the year, so we can lock that price in for the year. Once that contract is up there again, like I'm gonna reiterate that the pricing is probably gonna go up again for next year.
so what you're saying, as long as we commit before the price goes up,
Correct.
we're held true to that.
If I would get a purchase order dated before the end of September, then we should be able to lock the pricing in, put the truck on order. You're looking right now that I'm looking at deliveries on trucks. They've gotten better since the start of COVID. We're probably looking at first or second quarter of next year, which will probably fit right in with the body people, because they're they're in a situation where couldn't get trucks for so long, and all of a sudden, the trucks are starting to free up that were ordered a year ago, 2 years ago. So they're getting a little bit behind, so we try to schedule all the different body people I deal with to where they know when I'm gonna have the truck to them, so they can order their body plow and salt spreaders. So they've been working, I've been working real well with most all of them throughout the state of Ohio here.
That makes sense to me. I'm still thinking, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, fallish of next year before we would ever see it, right?
Yeah, we won't see that truck until next fall.
Realistically, time you get the truck and get the body, we're a year and a half out. So you would be looking at, should have it by fall for next year, for next season.
Okay, good. Marty, you have any questions for Tom?
Nope, I'm good.
Chris?
No.
Thank you, Tom.
Right, thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then to kind of recap what I talked about last month, the trucks that we want to get rid of, well, one of them, the first one, what we're talking about, is 11 years old. And we're thinking right now, if we put it on Gov Deals, we would get about 115,000 for it, but that's not guaranteed. All we can do is the best we can do on that. And then another question mark, what I had brought up was we could use 70,000 of ARPA money to help chew that down. And then the cost to the township would be 55,000 for a brand new equipped truck. Okay, so the only numbers that are given is 130,000 for R&R Mac and 110,000 Judco to outfit it. So I'm opening it up for discussion.
We pulled the outfitting out of multiple sources, correct?
Correct. Henderson was a lot more, and they're actually further away.
Henderson owns this.
What kind of truck is this? Size wise?
Size-wise, Tom, can you help the question out?
Yes, it's a Mack Granite,
Granite?
a Granite, yes, sir. Be a little heavier truck.
That we have now?
Yeah.
This is according to state contract pricing?
Correct.
Chris, you
Trucks
got
that you run right now are running 23,000 pound rear axles. I'm running 26 or 30,000 pound suspension versus a 16,000 steering axle that you guys are running. I'm running a 20,000 pound total weight. We're trying to keep a nickel diamond in 4 or 5 years with bunch of springs and this.
Right, right, exactly. Now, does it carry the same load?
Pardon me?
Does it carry the same load?
Yes, but it's
It's just, it's got a heavier
heavier-
axles
heavier
on it for
truck,
sure,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Chris, you
Rick,
got-
what was your estimation on how long it would take to outfit it?
I'll probably about, it'll take them probably 3 months to outfit it.
questions?
So, well, I'm thinking we're estimating first or second quarter of next year for
Correct.
the
Yeah,
for the
right
vehicle. And then another up to 3 months to, so we'll look at.
So it'd be right around
Really?
the fall,
Yeah.
right around the fall of '24.
Now, the second truck, which is a sister truck of that, we would have to hold on to that for 2 more years and try to do the same thing, but try not to do them the same year.
Excuse me, Rick, how many trucks do we have?
We got 4 plow trucks,
4, and we're gonna look to replace 2.
just one,
Just one for now.
just one.
And you were talking about another one?
Yeah, but that's on down the road.
Down the road,
At least a year.
2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
And then, as far as trading in the current one, we're hoping 115-ish. That's our best estimate right now at this point.
Well, that'd be going through like Gov Deals.
will have access to that one until we take.
But there again, I mean, that's just, you put it on Gov Deals, you don't know. You don't know. You know, like, we had that fire truck on there, you know, you can ask whatever you want for it.
Right.
And you're not gonna, you know, if you don't have the bidders,
Yeah, there's no
you're not
guarantee.
gonna get your price.
Can we sell it privately versus going on gov.deals, whatever?
Yeah.
Auction, same problem.
Okay.
This we can sell to another entity, government entity.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
I like the plan to stagger purchases. It'll be 2 years, the previous one.
But like I said, it's 11 years old, it'll be 12 by the time we get rid of it. The other one will be 14 by the time we get rid of it.
time.
It's time. It's time. Any other questions?
Not for me.
concerns? Marty,
No, I'm good. I'm throwing once, I'm good.
asking for a motion
To proceed with the purchase,
to proceed with the purchase.
I move that we go ahead with the purchase based on the information presented here.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Given approval to buy a cab and chassis from R&R for almost $130,000 and to outfit it from Judco for $110,000. Okay, motion carries.
I am still trying to get a UTG spreader for it as well at a better price.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna happen or not, but I'm trying to find one.
The plow was for sure, right, Marty?
Yeah, it's just a matter of the spreader.
Right. And the plow was with the frame. Yep.
Off the whole bit.
Yep, awesome.
Ty, were you gonna use the 70,000 ARPA? We need a resolution for that.
Yeah, we'll need a resolution for that 70, but I don't know that we have to exactly vote on that tonight. I mean, but here's coming up shortly, we better start allocating the specific numbers for the
Gotta get that money
ARPA.
spent.
Yep. Okay, service is done. Police, we got Sergeant.
Yes, sir,
Yep,
right here.
there you are.
We have nothing new to report at this time.
Okay. All right, thank you for filling in.
That's the way to, explain that to Markham, that's the way you're supposed to do the reports.
Excuse me, did you have any calls in the township in the last 30 days?
Have we had calls? Yes, we have.
Responded to? How many calls?
I don't have that number with me, sir. I can,
He's the third fill-in, but we have the report.
Oh,
He's the third fill-in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty, sorry.
Yeah.
I understand.
The report will be on the website in a couple days, so, yeah. All right. Zoning, Alice, anything other than what's on your report?
Yeah, I have a couple things. The health department has sent a couple more letters regarding the house on Lafayette that had all the issues, let's just phrase it that way. And one of the letters notifies that the health department cannot do anything as far as the interior of the house. I understand the house is as much or more of an issue than the outside, but they have no authority to do anything on the inside. They have been out there just recently to double check again, and there has been some progress. And I put that in quotes because it's some but not a lot, but they're checking and they're sending letters. I'm not sure, they suggested that the township sent a letter, but I'm not quite sure how I would, whether I would or you guys can because of the law that was giving you the authority to act on those type of things. So let me know which way you want to go with that. And if you haven't noticed already or received any notification, the city of Medina is building low-income housing for people. And they are putting 10 units on the border of the township. They wanted to make sure you knew it was in the city. They're not trying to infringe on the township. It's basically a half an acre of land that's just, let me see, southwest of the juvenile detention center where they have their complex there. They're also building, I forget the number, but they're building a bunch where Bennett Lumber used to be. They're putting low-cost housing there for people of low income or just can't find a house, but that's not anything to do with the township. And on Polka Road, the tent people will soon be no more. I've been in communication with them, and I have written them a permit for a new home. So they're going to, they said, we're outdoor people, we're tent people, we're, till they get the arrangements made to do the house. So, the last part of the month on, the 26th of August, I wrote a permit for them for a new home. So that should be gone.
Good.
The tents will be gone in a relatively short period of time. And just since people are, it's already on my report that was submitted, but so far through August, we have 14,712,702. 14,712,702 dollars worth of new revenue value, estimated value, and fees are $27,074.20. Okay.
Thank you, Alice. Talk about your,
I have a question for Lily and stuff like that. I think we all remember, hopefully, that we had passed a levy, fire department, for all this new construction and stuff. The township was growing, and quite frankly, Yale. Is the levy income, is that up because of all this new construction that's been going on? All the new housing construction?
I don't think we've realized the full potential yet,
Okay,
because it takes a cycle or two.
but is it up?
Yeah, a little bit.
It is up. Okay. The Board of Revision, are they gonna adjust the levies down because of the increase in income?
I don't know that.
Because, you know, when we passed the levy, it was for X number of dollars.
It's a set amount.
Right.
Yeah.
But.
Right now-
But now with all the new building that's going on and stuff like that, the increased income, are they gonna adjust it down? You know, there's an adjustable rate.
I don't know what the current collection rate is. It's not what it was when we originally voted in because of the increases, but it does get adjusted down. That's my understanding, yes.
Okay,
Because when we went back and talked about the potential need for an additional 0.2 of a mil increase, that was part of the thing we were looking at, is how much it would go up, and it's set at amount, so it really,
Yeah,
it doesn't
I mean-
fluctuate much.
right, when we voted for the levy,
Yeah.
it was for X number of dollars.
Right.
But now we have more income coming in because of all this new building.
Mhm.
So they're gonna adjust the effective rate, and they're gonna bring it down, because the levy was for X number of dollars.
That is my, I will confirm, that is my understanding, that's the way it works. When I talk to the auditor's office, that's, yeah. I don't know what the exact amount is, but that would be at that level.
So the
So
money.
you're gonna get a tax break.
Well, yeah, effectively speaking, the dollar amount.
After the
will be
big tax
same,
increase
right?
you just paid.
Okay, okay. So, well, the effective rate should be going down, okay?
So I will
So,
confirm the amount.
do we have enough money still? We have enough
Operate?
money to operate the fire department, then for the building and everything like that?
Yes.
We do?
But it's tight.
You sure? Because the budget I saw, the budget for the fire department's really gone up.
There's a,
So,
for the building itself, there's a bond that's passed, that's dedicated
Right,
strictly for
right.
that, so.
right.
Yeah.
But all this extra money has to be going towards the building.
All from the bond goes towards the building,
Right. The money that's collected from the levy.
not the levy.
So where's the money going from the levy that we voted
That's
for?
operating expenses.
You got a bond levy.
Right.
Bond and
Right.
and an operating.
Okay, so,
One is dedicated to the paying off the building.
all right, so we're on track for that then?
Yes.
Okay.
I should have asked before you started, just so we can have, when Sherry does the meeting minutes, we need your name, please.
Oh, I signed it to you. It's Ron Spann.
I know.
Chris, zoning?
We got new language for the tech park. It's, the zoning commission has gone through all their motions. They have sent it to the CPC. The CPC has sent back their comments on it. They've put the finishing touches on it in their meeting. It's gone through their public hearings. So now they've delivered their finished product to us. The next step for us is to set a public hearing to discuss it and then ultimately either approve or deny it
Or modified,
or modify it.
the three choices.
So
No, I'm not hooked up to
So,
this.
I mean, we'll come up with a public hearing date and notify the Gazette appropriately.
Okay.
Wouldn't you have to notify, make that date at a meeting, Bill? So
Has to be at a meeting.
it has to be at a meeting, and you have 30 days, I believe,
I
from
think it's gotta
tonight.
give at least 10 days notice and it's gotta be done within 30 days.
Right,
I
it's
remember.
gotta be
I couldn't
advertised
confirm
in
it,
the
yeah.
Gazette for 10 days, and to get it in the Gazette takes 4 or 5 days, because they're not as efficient as they used to be. And the clock starts as of tonight for your 30 days, so you need to pick a date somewhere within the next 30 days and get the advertising out and notifications.
Well, let's
I
just
would,
take
I
a
would
minute.
I'd make a motion to allow that authority to, Bill, assuming I can, allow that authority to Chris to work with you or whoever else he needs to determine a date.
Well, the board needs to determine the date.
The board as a
Yeah.
whole.
It's gonna be, it's gonna be a
It
public
can't be
hearing.
designated.
It's gonna have a, yeah, the
Okay.
board needs, it's gonna be a public
Okay.
hearing.
Marty, what's going on with technology?
In what way?
I mean, it's not filled.
No, not at all. And this one's kind of near and dear, because when it first came about, I was obviously out there, and I listened to the residents all around, not very happy
Right.
about the whole idea of Technology Park. And one of the things that was stated by the trustees at the time was that it wasn't gonna be in a big industrial park. It was gonna be all technology-based. So the fear about the residents that lived around it, they said there's gonna be, you know, factories there running 24/7 and lights and trucks and all running around, that really wouldn't happen.
Right. I know, I
And,
was there.
yeah, and since then, I mean, other than the university, and now fire station, obviously, there's been nothing of any real motion going in. And I think that's the reason for some of the, looking at some of the language change for what's gonna be allowed in the technology park. And that's something that, as residents, as a board, we need to take a really, really, really hard look at,
Yeah.
because it's,
We're supposed to be a clean,
yes,
clean environment for our residents. We weren't supposed to have any worries about truck traffic and all this other
Absolutely.
stuff. And that's part of what the fiber was all about
Yep.
too.
absolutely, I agree with that
So now,
110%.
I'm just worried about, well, you know, they're not using other methods to attract companies here. So
I mean,
now
the
they're
fact
looking to take the low-cost effort of putting something in that's gonna be offensive to the residents.
And
cause
that's,
more traffic.
and that's
God
what
knows
we've
we already got
gotta be,
enough traffic accidents there.
and that's what we've gotta be awfully careful of, is exactly how we amend that to what we allow to go in, because you're absolutely right. I remember sitting there
Yeah,
and listening to, we won't let that happen, we won't let that happen.
Right.
And I understand that the idea was we were gonna get technology in there, but it just has never, and it just has never happened. For whatever reason, it just has never really gelled and gone, other than the university. But I don't know that that means we should just go back down and say, well, let's put it in whatever we want, which we're not. But I wanna be very, very, very careful in what we agree to with that language.
Right.
Because I've got some very personal feelings on that as well, not just as a trustee, but as a resident.
Oh, so do I. I mean, you're talking, Alice is talking about, they're gonna put, they're looking to put low-income housing or whatever like that. Does that mean Section 8 housing?
But that's not in the township.
Right, that's
It's
on
in
the
the
border.
it's on the border.
Yeah.
Which
It's
we
in
really
the
can't do
city.
anything about that, obviously, but that's, but you're
That's
right,
just
you've
an
always got
FYI,
to
when you see something going on there that you don't pick up the phone and say, what's happening?
Right.
That's all city controlled under their fair housing bureau.
be,
But
but
where
you're,
they put it is a different story. They're putting it on the border there.
It's,
They have every right to do it. I'm
yeah,
just worried
it's
about.
between the jail and the car dealership, I think. You know, it's in that area.
Yeah.
All right, I think Chris came up
You're
with a
right.
date.
you're absolutely right, and I,
I don't see anything coming closer that, could ruin what our township looks like.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Marty, are you available October 5th?
October 5th.
It's a Thursday.
Well, the only thing on my schedule now is take my evening pill. So I think I'm okay for that day, yeah. What time are you thinking?
7?
Okay. Yeah, that should be fine. That should be fine.
And,
Then you make a motion.
I would make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the tech park language. Proposed change to the zoning book for Thursday, October 5th at 7 PM here.
Hey, guys, can we kind of keep the chatter to a minimum, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Chris, I'm sorry.
Motion for October 5th, Thursday, 7 PM here for the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 What was the date?
Opposed? Same sign.
Yeah, let's make sure we get the word out on that. 'Cause
Yeah, I was right, it's
Mhm.
30 days, 10
It's
days.
not what I thought it was going to be, and I just don't
Yeah,
know if they
yes,
don't have
right.
good marketing effort for it. They're just not trying to
10
market
days
it,
notice
they're
they
just
got to
looking
get
to
for the
fill it.
meeting, so.
Yeah, 10 days, so you make sure that the board's secretary,
notice-
administrator, whoever gets that into the paper.
It has to follow the statute too, so make sure we get a chance to review it. So it meets statutory requirements.
And if for some reason you can't come to a decision that night, you do have the right and authority to continue it to another day. There's not a time limit on the continuations, just the time limit on the initial public hearing.
Thanks, Alice. Chris, anything else for zoning?
No.
Marty, anything?
Nope, nothing on zoning, nope.
Okay, good. All right, next on the list is public participation. Chuck, did you want to talk about your neighbor?
No,
No? Okay, Alice addressed it, so
she was.
she was addressing that property.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions today. Come along. In looking over what I saw last year, you guys approved a higher deductible for medical insurance,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So how much of the deductible is now paid by employees versus township?
The entire deductible is paid by the township, which is the way it's been for as long as I've been a trustee.
So how much is it?
Right now, the deductible is $8,000.
And the township pays for your deductible?
Up to $8,000.
Right. Well,
Now-
that's like my medical, it's
Right,
up to,
right.
but,
What we did, we sat down, actually, I kind of took the lead on this one, so I'll talk to this one. I sat down and I talked to our insurance guy.
right.
And we looked at what we typically pay, and I don't want to get too deep into the nickels, but we looked at what we typically pay out of deductibles. And it's nowhere near that. please don't hold me to this, because I'm trying to go from memory, but I think on average, for all if you bundle everybody together, it's about $1,500, maybe $1,600 per employee
For a deductible.
for deductible,
Okay.
which what's actually turned in. Now, some are a little bit higher, some are a little bit lower.
Right.
So, I mean, theoretically, we could have a $50,000 deductible. It's not gonna cost township a penny more. And that's how we actually save money on our insurance. When you go to the higher deductible, your insurance rates drop.
Right.
So I'm sorry. So we did that to help keep our insurance rates down. And I'd have to go back through all my notes to see
But
exactly.
we're paying for it then,
Yes, yep.
so you don't have a deductible.
As
I
employees
mean,
of
on
township.
insurance. as far as
Insurance, yeah,
companies
insurance
are
does
concerned.
have the deductible, but the
Right.
employees of the township do not pay it, no. They pay their annual fee, your monthly fee for
Right.
insurance.
Okay.
But that's it.
So, in other words, how many people are we talking here?
How many
That
people are
we're-
full-time on
We have
insurance?
liability up to 8,000 for each employee.
Is it a total of 8 we have now for full-time?
Counting the chief.
What's 7?
The chief does it.
Oh,
Chief
that's
does that,
right,
though.
yep,
So 7
7.
people?
7 people?
Mhm.
So 56,000?
If everything went to, you know what, in a handbasket, yes,
Right.
the potential liability would be $56,000.
Okay.
And I'd have to go through to see, because like I said, I know when we went through to see what we were saving, there was a pretty substantial chunk of change. And if you like, I can get together with you and try to dig those numbers back out again.
Yeah, well, if we only have 7 people, they're not gonna cut a big deal for 7 people.
No, that's why we're trying to
You know.
find other ways, more creative ways to
Right.
bring it down.
I was just surprised that, like, and I worked for AT&T,
Mhm.
nobody paid my deductible.
No.
My deductible was my deductible.
Yep.
I was not aware that
Yep.
the township was paying the deductible for these people.
Neither was I when I started as a trustee 7 years ago.
Yeah. All right.
Anything else? No, I was asking him, sorry. We were still on,
I think we're good.
I guess he's done.
Is this public
Raise your
comment
hand.
time I'm taking it?
Yes.
All right. Well, I was sitting there reminiscing and thinking, you know how lucky you guys are? You better play the lottery. 34 years I've been living out here in Lafayette Township, and I've never really had to come in and dress this bunch. Had to. This is my second time. First time I was here was about the Parker issue and cleaning up the nuisance. And guess what? Second time, same issue. I went past there on the way here this afternoon or this evening, and they're getting there. It's about halfway down the driveway now. You know, won't be long, the rats will be back, I'm sure. I had another problem, but that was my fault. I have been sending email communications to Lafayette Township and the fiscal officer, and dummy me English teacher doesn't know how to spell. It was a typo. I put Lafayette L-A-Y. But that's not a
How long
problem,
have you lived in the township?
because I fixed it. So you guys will be getting forwarded copies from June 12th, July 2nd, August 21st, August 22nd, September 2nd, and guess what? 9/11. I zipped it off an hour before I got here. Back to the Parker issue, which is what I really wanted to talk about. Why has this not been posted to the county tax bill yet? If anybody wants, I'd be glad to show you the video. May 2nd, because I was out there and I filmed it with my phone. The Medina cop, I want to know his name and the car number that was sitting there watching it. I talked to him. I want to know how many people, because I know there are 4 dump trucks in there. You want to see it, I'll show you. And the backhoe. And $17,000. I want an itemized bill for that. Did you guys just pull that out of the air? Did you pull that out of your ear? Did you pull it out of something else? How can you come up with $17,000 and no itemized bill for that? I want a line by line. And don't give me the answer like I'm hearing from you guys. About. It's about. What kind of fiscal responsibility is about? Go tell the federal government, go tell the IRS, I about made this much money. They want it to the penny. About. I'm about mad. You ain't seen me mad. You want to see me mad, go watch the county. When I walk in, those three, Larry, Curly, and Mo, about dropped their, never mind. That's the itemized cost I want to hear about. I'm going to get it. If you want a public record request, here it is. Is this public enough? You want it in writing? I'll do that too. It ain't a problem.
Is this what you've been asking for in all the emails that were?
Correct.
Okay.
Basically, I want to know what's
So
going on.
before-
And you know what? I'm still not sure that this is going to be solved. Looking at that half a driveway on the way here today. You know I'm right. You saw it, I did too. I only got one eye, but I know what I saw.
I had my hand up.
You got that right. Real quick note here. Well, like I said, May 2nd video. If you guys give me an itemized bill, I don't have to be crazy to the penny. I don't need to be that absurd. But I would like to see some better accounting than about, oh, that's the word that lit my fuse. About 17,000 for that bill. And then the next thing is, why hasn't that been posted to the county tax bill like it was supposed to be? Mr. Lawyer, I'm not afraid of lawyers. You said a jackass to college, you don't come out a horse. I'd like to know why that hasn't been put on the county yet. You're the legal brain on this thing. Tell them, do their job.
They know they can
It will
post
be.
it. I have nothing to do with that.
Advise them.
They've been advised.
And they still don't act?
They haven't done it
I've
yet.
been in contact with the county prosecutor's office.
I didn't say the prosecutor, I said
You're talking about
auditor. That
posting
goes
the
on the
cost.
tax
Yeah.
bill.
Yeah.
Well, what's the delay?
It's gonna be on the owner's tax bill.
Correct. When? In our lifetime or what?
I'm assuming that once it's posted, it will come to them next year.
Next year.
I don't know if it will be the early one or the second half one, but
This gets more absurd all the time. Next year.
they get tax bills twice a
Oh,
year.
before I forget,
They get tax bills twice a
my
year.
bad. Marty, I apologize. I think I need to introduce myself like I do at the county commissioners meeting. Hello! With liberty and justice for all. For all, that means me too. I am Mark Frederick, M-A-R-K-F-R-E-D-R-I-C-K, just like three first names. Mark, Fred, Rick. Can't forget. 6112 and 6146 West Smith Road. You know the old house with the toilets out front. It's a legend in the township. That's law and art in case you want to go chasing my toilets down. We've been through that for 30 years. I had a lot of fun with that. I know you guys did too. But anyhow, Mark Frederick, 6112, 6146 West Smith Road, Medina, Ohio, State of Ohio, United States of America, continent North America, planet Earth, Milky Way solar system. I don't have to hide from anybody. Even the Martians can find me. There, I couldn't resist getting that one in because that's what I always do with the county. You think I don't go watch the video? It's like Mark Frederick 5 minutes when I get in there. And I don't know if there's a time limit on this, but if you want, let me know. I'll shut up. We're almost done. So we'll get to the itemized cost. It sounds like Tent City has been solved, which is pretty nice. Because I was about ready to charter a bus and send it down to the southern border. Pick up about 50 illegals, move them in, and he'll have set up teepees. We'll have a campground. We get it all set with the Native American. We can have all kind of fun down there.
You got that much room on your property for those people?
No, you know what I'm going to do with my property? I'm going to turn it into a pig farm. If you guys remember Tom Turbiani on Route 83 there in Lodi, because I guarantee you a lot of people remember him, I do. Go ask Pat Geisman if she remembers him, because I remember the jailbirds picking the bread wrappers out of the trees for 2 miles up and down every other way on 83 there. And I'm going to tell you this. I started off saying how lucky you are. You don't know this, but you don't know how lucky you are. Because I've been asked to annex to the city. This goes back to Jane Lever yet. And I was polite to her a couple times, told her, no, Jane, thank you, no. I don't want annex. And the last time I talked to her, I said, look, I'm going to tell you one last time. No! I saw what happened on Lake Road when Township got screwed. With all those buildings and all those employees and all that real estate tax and all that income tax. Whoop! To the city of Medina. And I don't want to see it happen to my piece of property. You know I dumped the back 30 acres. You know what I got for that. I can afford to be a little loud. I still got the 30 acres, and they've been asking about annexing that. We could annex that and put low-income housing in there if you don't want a pig farm. Well, I managed to keep Medina City at bay by saying, well, you keep aggravating me, I'm gonna start a pig farm, just like Tom Turbiandi, and that was the last I heard of him. So I did the township a favor, whether you know it or not. You owe me a kiss, let me tell you where. But that was, well, anyhow, that was another one. But if you want, I could annex to the city, and we get a whole bunch of low-income housing in the township. I'm sure you'd like that. You'd probably like that more than you like me. And by the way, I always tell the county commissioner, I said, I know you guys, half of you are praying I go senile. You ain't looking too good today on that one. The other half is praying I flop over dead with a heart attack. And I'm feeling pretty healthy on that one too, so keep praying, it could do you no good. Well, so much for the campground, that kills the teepee plan I had, and a busload of immigrants bringing them up. I don't know what they're doing for the health there, whether they're using a road ditch or what, but it must be pretty good. Why hasn't the county health department been involved in several of those things? Because I don't live on Parker Road, you know that, you got my address. But who's living in that garage? That's Eddie Neumeyer's mother's old place. I used to work on tractors there, I know where it is. Is the township doing anything about it? Because I don't know, this is only the second time I've been at this meeting, man, I'm having a good time. I might come more often now. You know, you might have some fun with me. Well, and government spending, that one, oh, I about busted the gut laughing at that one. Government spending, it's gonna go down. What are you smoking or drinking? Let me know, I need some of that. If you think government spending's ever gonna go down, you must be growing some good stuff in the cornfield. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, government never has enough money. You give them $10, they'll spend 11, they'll vote for another levy, and they'll spend more. And you know I'm right. And we, the sheeple, let it happen. I've about had it happening. You answer my emails, I'll shut up and go away again. Because this old bear's been hibernating over there nice and quiet for generations. But the county poked the bear and woke him up. And when I wake up, I start growling and I bite somebody. I'll stop before I finish that. Thanks, folks. Have a good time. Nice to see my neighbors.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm sure you're happy to hear that. And I gotta be you too.
I was gonna bring this up in old business, but since we talked about Parker Road, we are going to be moving forward with the injunction process. I've been talking with the prosecutor's office on that because the refuse is coming down the driveway further, so.
I just thought that was talked about at the last
We
meeting.
talked about it, and then we talked to Mr. Palker again we didn't know if that stuff was coming from inside the house, because it surely
No,
started, but now
bring
it's obvious that it's, new stuff is coming in.
He's
so.
bringing it in, and we've seen him bringing it in after dark even,
Right.
so. Unfortunately.
Is it gonna be an emergency this time, and not take another 2 years to wait for it to hit the road?
I honestly don't know how long that process will
Well,
take.
the last meeting we talked about it, you said there would be, someone asked if they started to dump there again, what would happen, and you guys all said that it would be under an emergency situation and you would do it quickly. Is quicker than 2 years?
I would imagine so.
No, I think she's talking about you using.
We better hurry up, the rats are getting cold winter coming.
But that would be the process again, you don't have to have the length of time to notify them, but you would be spending more township money.
Right.
The injunction, you don't spend the township money. The injunction forces them to clean it up. So I guess the board would have to
We can
decide.
stop
Did
paying
you-
our garbage bill and just dump our stuff over there.
Throw it in the road.
Maybe
Township
we
will
won't
pick it
pay
up.
for Rumpke or Republican and just take all our trash and dump it over there.
Please don't do that.
Chris, you can work with the prosecutor's office.
My clients.
Didn't Mike tell you the last time, Chris, what time frame once you wanted to pull the trigger on that injunction? No? Because it was gonna be, unfortunately, the dad and the boy, because the
Right.
dad owns both properties.
Right.
But it's clearly not coming out of
No.
the house, they're actually
No.
bringing more
Yeah,
in.
she says it's coming in from the outside for sure.
He's got his dad's car, he loads it up, he comes over, opens all the doors in the trunk and empties out the crap on the ground and does another round.
You got other vote habits?
Chris, did we ever, or Bill, did we ever have did they ever agree to put up a no dumping sign there?
No,
Okay,
never, that was never raised.
all right, that was another option.
But it,
Okay.
yeah, it's supposed to be not done anyway, but
Yeah.
like I say, and as I said, the expedited procedure was under the process where the township would clean it up. That would be because how much more money you want to put
Right.
into it, rather than go the injunction, which would be a permanent fix, hopefully. And I say if they do grant the injunction, he would be subject to not only a fine, the cost of cleaning up, but potential jail if they don't do it, so.
All right, can we get an idea, Bill, is it reasonable to get an idea from the prosecutor's office how long the injunction process would take? I know they can't give you to the day, but is it a 2-week process or a 10-year process, or is there
I'm
any
not
way you
sure
can give a rough
how the
idea?
current judges would work. The filing, they'd have to file for temporary, and then they'd have to get through the judge. It's gonna be based on the court's schedule.
Okay, so that could be,
But it's not gonna be the time frame that this
No,
lady
but
was
it could
talking
be
about.
5 or 6 months easily.
Hopefully, it would not be if they go
Okay.
for the
Okay.
temporary.
but it's not years.
No,
No,
no.
Okay. And it would, that way it doesn't cost the township any more money, although eventually we'll get our money back, but
Right,
we still have to put it out initially.
right.
How long do they take to get the money back? Like say $17,000, how long do you guys have to recoup that? We gotta pay ours every year, or half.
No.
As he said, it's put on the taxes and it's collected as part of the taxes.
Okay, how much time period though? So you gave that all to them in one shot to pay that out of it, okay? How are they gonna pay the township back on that? That's what I need to know. Or are they gonna go there, like, say I don't pay my taxes, right? I'm penalized with whatever they've gotta do to me. Is that what they're gonna do to him for not paying that $17,000 back?
Yes.
In one shot?
I don't know how they put it on it. I
That's all
don't
I
think,
just need to know because.
I don't know. I've
You guys
not
gave
been
it-
part of that. The auditor's
Paid all
office
that
does
in one
that.
shot to get it cleaned up.
Right.
Why can't he pay all that in one shot back to give it back to the
Statute
township?
says it's collected as taxes, it's generally, whatever the
Okay, I
assessment is, it's divided in two. If he doesn't pay it, there is penalties, and it could result in a foreclosure on the sale of the property.
The township will have it back in 2 payments.
I don't know, that's normally how they do it.
Assuming he pays his taxes.
I understand, though.
Yeah.
I understand where that's come from. I just-
Right.
Like you said, over 15, I heard this figure over 15 years.
Over
They
15
got it
years.
over 15
No.
years.
I don't think we ever would.
No,
10,
no.
15 years. Illegal.
No.
Right, exactly. Kevin from the motel down there in Lafayette, by the way, for the record.
Kevin, I'm sorry, Justin. I'm sorry, Kevin
Later,
Light. Okay, thank you.
6200 Lafayette Road, blue, real easy to find.
Since we're on the topic of Balker Road and the assessment, if he sells that property tomorrow, what recourse does the township have to recoup their money?
Or if he passes
Because
away.
nothing's been filed with the auditor's office to assess that property. And the only thing that's holding it up, from my understanding, is the board, the township, notifying the auditor's office of the expense.
That's,
So if he-
that is correct.
Okay.
I have not done that yet.
So
So
why
you're
haven't
going
we
there
done it?
tomorrow, right?
I'll be going there very soon.
Very soon means like 24 hours tomorrow, right?
But it's,
I'll be going there very soon. I
it's
can't
been
commit to
5
it.
Very
months.
soon is not good enough, that's like about.
About to the run.
So again, until that assessment's filed, there's no lien against the property.
There's no lien against the price,
If you were to
that's
sell the
correct.
property, then it's a civil matter for the township to try to recoup their taxes.
Right.
Good luck.
Okay.
Mr. Balker signed personally for it, so he is still liable.
What happens if he passes
If
away?
we're made aware that it still attaches to the property, all they have to do is file a special assessment, we'll escalate it with the auditor's office.
So the township will collect their money before anybody else gets a dime?
No, the government collects first, then,
Okay.
then another document goes.
I don't care about the government.
Yes, it'll be a tax lien.
Personally for
The
this,
government.
it can be affixed to the estate, it can be attached to the real estate. It'll get done, all they have to do is,
Are they gonna put that?
you have to record the lien, the lien has been made, it just has to be recorded. Yeah.
That's not on the taxes yet, no.
Isn't that what he signed is
No.
his responsibility for it? I'm
No.
sorry, I didn't mean to misspeak, I thought he signed.
Not that I'm aware of.
that too, assumptions are nothing, you facts.
Well, he's talking about Paul Senior signing that,
Agreement that you get, that That he would, he understood it got to be cleaned up, and he agreed to be put on his taxes. That's- Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's got to be put there. They're right, it's got to be put there.
Tomorrow.
All right, anybody else?
I did have one more
Oh.
item, but I see that you have it on the correspondence later. It's about the bond. I'd be perfectly fine letting you guys address the issue, and then if for some reason it doesn't, questions don't get answered, then we can do it instead of taking up time now. Are you okay with that?
Sure. I'm sorry, that's not my place to say.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Linda's there.
Oh, yep, sorry.
I seriously hate following Mr. Frederick. Commissioner Geisman used to tell me how entertaining you were, and now I get it.
You ain't seen nothing yet, get me riled up.
I have, once again, written out my comment, and I will read it because I've been terribly misquoted in the past, and I really don't like that. So when I'm done reading this, I'm gonna give it to Laura, and you can put it in your minutes or however you wanna do it, but you're gonna have it. As you know, not quite 2 months ago, someone sent me a link to the Lafayette Township Fire Department Facebook page. And imagine how surprised I was when I found out that I was blocked. I have no idea how long I was blocked. It could have been years. I don't know. First I was surprised because, to my knowledge, I haven't looked at that page since 2016 when we had the fire levy, the building levy on the ballot. I've never posted anything on that page. I've never written anything negative or critical of our fire department in any fashion, on any Facebook page for that matter. But second, I was surprised because it's a violation of the First Amendment for any government agency to block anyone, resident or otherwise, from its social media. And when I expressed that concern, I was blown off. I didn't even get the courtesy of an acknowledgement, and you folks have known for more than 2 months that I've been upset about this. Not even an acknowledgement. When I expressed that concern, the only way I found out that the Board of Trustees was even taking a position that you're not responsible for it was due to a letter sent to another resident denying his public records request to obtain a screenshot of all of those people who had been blocked from that page. When I shared my disappointment with some of the residents, one of them asked me, "What would you have done?" And my response was, the first thing I would have done is apologize to those who had been blocked. I'd identify who was responsible, and I'd make sure it never happened again, and I'd pray that that made the issue go away. And then they laughingly reminded me that about 2 years ago, there was a lot of rhetoric thrown around about transparency and accountability. But I didn't believe it was funny. And when people expect and deserve those claims to translate into policy instead of slogans, I don't find that funny at all. And regardless of your claim otherwise, I and other residents still assert, that the Lafayette Township Fire Department Facebook page, now known as the Friends of the Lafayette Township Fire Department page, is an official page of the township. Changing the name does not change that fact. So since I'm the only person that we know that can actually prove that I was blocked, today, in open meeting and on the record, I'm making the same public record request that was previously denied to another resident. Please provide me with a screenshot of the names of the people who were or are blocked from the former Lafayette Township Fire Department Facebook page, now known as the Friends of the Lafayette Township Fire Department. And since I understand that every member of this board was served with a notice to preserve those documents, I'm assuming that you still have them available. I believe those victims, especially the residents of this township that you serve, have a right to know who they are and that their rights were violated, and what steps will be taken to ensure that it never happens again. And this is something that I feel very strongly about. It's just the wrong thing to do to people, and I'm not just gonna let it pass. Here you go.
Linda, could you send that electronically? Would that be possible? That way she can just cut and paste it rather than scan it?
Sure, but you asked me to do that a year ago, and I did it, and it's not even attached to the minutes, but I'll do it.
Thank you.
Did you spell it right?
All right. Anybody else? Yep.
Nick Kittle, 5488 Columbia Road. I have two things I want to talk about tonight. First of all, this wasn't on my agenda for tonight, but when Alice gave their zoning report, she said that she wrote a building permit for, I think she called it Tent City.
No, just the property with the tent on it.
Oh, the property with the tent.
Not tent.
Somebody else called it.
Not Tent City, there's one tent.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that in your mouth.
No.
So what changed, like, when did they apply for that permit? I'm just curious.
Oh, last month.
Last month? Okay. All right, I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I think I said the date on it.
August. Well, I know you wrote the permit, you said you wrote the permit August 26th, but when did
Okay.
they apply for the permit?
August 26th.
Oh, that's pretty speedy.
Well, I have been talking with him, and he had everything I needed, and when somebody has already conversed with me, knows the materials and information I need, and shows up with it, and it's
Nice.
not a problem from a zoning perspective, then yes, it can be very quick.
Wow, okay. Appreciate it. Thank you for the information.
Mhm.
Like I said, that wasn't on my agenda. I just, from the conversation, I just made me wonder. I wish all residents were treated with the same opportunity. So what I really came to talk about is back in March, I entered into agreement with the township trustees that demolish my house, an existing house on a property, once new construction was completed to a new residence. I'm drawing near to completing my current my new house, and I mentioned this to Chris before the previous last month's meeting, and I also talked to Jamie and Tim, and there's some interest from the fire department and possibly even the police department. I haven't talked to the police department, but to use my current, or the existing facility as some training before I tear it down.
Burn it down, yeah.
Well, they can't burn it down, it's too close to my new house. I don't know.
Okay, don't say too much, or they might.
No, it's just, they do other types of training, not just burn training, but, I would like to offer it to the fire department and the police department, but I need the trustees to give me an extra 30 days to allow them to come in and do what they
Absolutely,
need
I've
to
talked
do.
with the chief, they are interested in it.
So,
maybe we could set up a meeting with Chief Kavanaugh, you, myself, and try to come up with a date where they can accordingly.
that'd be perfect. That's all I wanted to, that's all I need.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Public participation, once, twice? Okay.
Sold.
All right, correspondence. Fire station bond. Marty, you were talking about.
Yeah, there was,
Say something.
there was some comments, Justin, you had made at the last meeting about being fiscally responsible, and we could have saved, I don't know if you said this in the meeting or if it was on one of your posts you do on your thing there, but tens of thousands of dollars that can be saved. Okay? And I thought about that and thought, crap, if that's true, we really are pretty stupid by not doing it. So I called our banker. I got the number from Laura, the guys who we deal with. And I asked him, I said, so, we get our tax payments twice a year, and at the very least, if we paid this twice a year, how much could we save in interest? Or if we paid it off, earlier by doing that. And apparently, the way that the original note was written, the only way it can be paid off is early is if it's paid off in full. And the interest rate doesn't change. The interest amount doesn't change. Now, that's what I got from the bank. So I asked, so if we make a payment June and then December, like we do for the interest, if we make that on the principal, would that help draw the interest rate down? He said no. So he did mention in there, and I don't know if you want to share or not, but that's totally up to you. It's your own business. He said, I'm not sure where this person got his information from, but I'd be really curious to find out where.
Well, where I got my
Because
information
common
is
sense
that-
would say that
Well, yeah.
It's like anything else, if you pay it
it's
early, it would
worst
come
loan
down.
Agreement that's ever been entered into if you can't pay the balance down and get rid of it. Like, if you're agreeing to a set amount of interest, no matter how long you're keeping the payment, that's the worst contract ever. But we can settle it, I'll just get a copy of the contract.
Yeah,
and we'll go
yeah,
from
that's
there.
fine, that's fine. He did mention that, he said you guys actually got a great rate, which we did, it's like 2.5% or 2-point-some%. He said it'd be actually kind of silly to not take that money rather than paying it off early on a low rate, to reinvest it, and you get a little bit more money back. Now, we're not gonna make $1 bazillion on it.
No, absolutely.
So
but
I asked
interest rates have
Laura.
been below 2% since, I know they're not now,
Yeah.
but prior to this year, interest rates were way below
Right.
2%, so.
So
yeah,
now
if
we
you
could
get
actually
interest-
probably make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but
If you
enough
invest it
to,
separately,
enough for
absolutely.
pizza sometimes. So I said something to Laura about doing that, and she's given me the authority, or she's given me the okay, and I was gonna ask the board, that was part of what I wanted to do today, is ask the board if I could work with our local banker to find ways that we could take that money and invest it to make a few dollars, rather than just spending it all. So, we'll see, I have no idea if there'll be anything, I mean, if we're gonna save $30 a year, it's probably not worth doing.
Right.
But if there's an appreciable amount of money, absolutely, put the effort in and do it.
You would make way more.
I don't know, Justin.
No, I know, and I'm not trying to be argumentative here, but I guess what I'm saying is if you're telling me that the way that it's set up is that you can only pay, like, there's no advantage to paying early. You just
Which is what he said,
then-
yes.
Then the investment options that would be available to a municipal entity are gonna be limited, but Star Ohio is currently paying over 5%.
So then we'd be making
2.5%.
$2.5%.
$400,000 for a year
Mhm.
is gonna be a sizable
Well,
chunk
that's
of
chunk of change, yeah, exactly.
So that money should be in a Star Ohio account and earning interest.
And that's what I'm gonna, with the board's approval, that's what I'm gonna look into.
Thank you.
Marty? Marty,
Yes.
who's that funded through?
Oh, crap.
Who's the?
Huntington.
You talked to the bank, right?
Yeah.
Who's the bank?
Huntington.
Huntington?
Yeah.
My suggestion is, invest the money. Don't invest it with Huntington.
Well, if they do it to Star Ohio, that's an Ohio account.
Good joke.
Okay. All my experiences with a
But they are
different bank.
investment people for years. When I asked them what they were gonna pay, I laughed. I'm a simple person.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I know you well enough.
You know what? I was making more than twice as much as they were paying their clients. I said, you gotta be kidding me. I even looked at the branch manager, I said, are you kidding me? Get him out of here. He does this for a living?
Chuck, did you have a
But
question?
that's where I'm gonna, again, if Sylvia say it's okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, a question, Chuck Ferris, Winston Lake Road. What year was that taken out?
2019, I think. I'd have to
Well,
look.
the station was built in.
4 years.
I'd have to
4 years
look.
into it, maybe.
Yeah, I'd have to look to see. I don't know that off the top of my head.
So was it
And I
this
hate
board?
quoting numbers unless I'm sure.
Was it this board that made the worst decision ever on a bank?
No, it was
loan?
not.
Okay, thank you.
If that was, I mean, if that's, and I don't know that it was the worst decision ever, because we
Well, I don't- I'm
got, they got a
just-
hell of an
Well,
interest rate.
Let's be fair, since we're gonna talk about that, I said, if the contract is as Marty says it.
I'm
is.
not speaking to you, bonehead, as usual.
All right, gentlemen,
I know.
gentlemen,
I'm not
it's,
speaking to him.
I
have the
understand,
floor.
I understand.
I'm not talking to this guy.
But again, I mean, it's unfortunate that the former trustee Bowers walked out, because she actually took the
Well, the other
forefront of
one
that.
walked out too, you must have scared him off.
Well, that's neither here nor there, but I thought at the time that we got a pretty good deal.
Okay.
And I know there was, and again, I'm not gonna quote dates, because I'm gonna get something off, and I'm
But
gonna
you
get.
were on it, right?
I was on the board at
Okay.
the time, yeah, yeah. And I know there was a limit that said you had to hold the note for at least a year or 18 months before you could pay it off.
Right.
Otherwise, it was a big prepayment penalty, which, that's fine.
That's normal, though.
We weren't gonna find $4 million laying in a box anywhere, so.
Thank you.
But,
That was
yeah,
supposed
that's,
to be paid off in how many years, according to the levy?
is that 10 year? Oh, hold on.
That's the last thing.
Oh, do you want me to read something that small?
I'm blowing it up here.
You read it, Laura.
Yes.
Commencing December 1st,
2020,
and maturity date December 2029.
9 years.
Yeah.
Okay, 9 years.
So it's 9 years.
Yeah. And I know the goal always was to try to pay the note off early.
Yeah.
But based on that, I mean, you're gonna do it by banking your money up and then dumping it all at once at the end.
Right.
And by then, if it's what's that called, the rule of 78s, by the time you get towards the end of the note, you paid off all the interest anyway, so there's no sense in it.
Well, yeah, but the levy's over with then.
Right, right. Well, yeah, you have to one way or the other, yeah.
Right.
Chris, you okay with Marty working with the bank and reporting back to us? at
Absolutely.
Our next meeting?
Okay. I will do my best.
All right, the next correspondence.
Marty, if you want, I'll go to Huntington with you. I
Oh,
guarantee
good
you.
God, no.
They'll be happy to see me.
I
dealt
want
with
you to
them.
go to Huntington if I'm going somewhere else.
No, I have a secret weapon you can use.
Mark, you scare the hell out of me.
Just bring up
You're
your.
right, I do.
The next correspondence I had is
They'll recognize
a
it.
resident had emailed in asking about a street light at the corner of their street and another street, Lake Street and Third. Typically, the township doesn't put street lights up unless there's some sort of a road safety issue, but I can certainly look into it, have Rick look into it, and we can talk to Ohio Edison and kind of see what they have.
Now we can.
Oh, you got someone?
I
to
finally
talk to
found
now?
somebody.
Oh, good.
If you guys remember back, maybe 6 months ago, we talked about putting a street light out at the corner of 162, right here where you turn into the fire station down at the school. Because that is pitch black coming in there.
Yeah, it is.
And it has taken forever. I can't tell you the number of people I've talked to at Ohio Edison, the number of different languages I had to speak. And I couldn't get anybody to respond. I finally went to the county engineer's office, and they spent a week and came back with a name. And I finally got somebody who's actually returning my calls that sounds like they're gonna be able to help out and give us the information we need. So we'll get the information, we'll get the pricing.
One light, that's.
I know, you know, but it doesn't matter if it's one light or 1,000. It's trying to find somebody that actually wants to deal with you. That's the problem. But I think I finally have the right person now, so we'll hopefully be able to get something going with that. Because that's desperately needed down there.
All right, well, keep us attuned on that, Marty.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's been forever.
Yeah.
Any other correspondence? Laura, you had some?
Yeah, there is a notice of delinquent tax foreclosure proceedings. This is what you guys need to take a peek at.
Oh, this is for, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll make a copy of that. Can you give us each, just send us a copy of the review? Okay.
Anything else, Laura? Chris, any correspondence?
No, we touched on everything I was going to talk about.
All right, good. All right, new business, fall newsletter. So we've got some volunteer residents that made up a newsletter in the spring and asked me if I could print up some and disperse them, and we've had a lot of good feedback on that newsletter that they put out in the spring. People were coming into the fire department, picking some up, town hall. So they'd like to do it again in the fall, but they're asking me to bring to the board if we can mail it to all the residents in the township, and that's including the village. So the printing of the newsletters, their mail prep, whatever they call it. This is Minuteman. We've been using them forever. They do a good job. And the mailing for just township residents is going to be like, well, $3,584 if that's exactly the mail, the addresses that they have.
And they do everything?
And they do everything. So we've got some really great feedback. People love it. I would be
Wish we
willing
could
to
get more
do it.
email addresses.
I
and do
would
them
love
that
to get
way.
more email addresses. I would love to make the whole thing digital,
Yeah.
but I think if we did a couple of these and keep promoting the website, because you've done
Yeah.
a phenomenal job with the website, but just keep promoting that, it'd be a lot less on printing, but,
And that includes all the printing and everything else. So
Lot
the
of stuff.
the volunteers are doing, I don't
All
want to make
the
it sound minimal,
editing,
but
whatever.
they're actually putting it together. Okay.
and they just send it to and they just send it to Minuteman. I mean, if we were to approve it, so.
Okay.
You know, Marty, you should just get an update list, because not everybody wants another piece of mail.
Yeah.
But just like my mother and everybody else, there are some people, they're just not fluent in the digital technology.
I know. That's
So,
the challenge.
I mean, it's kind of like a
It's-
notification list, which ones, you know, you can blast it out by email, PDQ, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And for the rest of it, it would cut the cost down. I mean, that's a relatively, honest, from my history, that's a pretty good cost. I don't know how
That
many
is-
addresses you're looking at, but if they're gonna do all of it, that's a pretty decent cost. But I think it still would be wise to just have a list of people.
I
If they
agree.
wanna sign up for notifications and stuff like that,
Yeah.
then let them do it that way.
And that's, we've tried to do that. There's actually a place on the website that you can log on and leave your email address. When we do at any of the elections, when we did the last one, it was
Just don't
but
let
we
them
typically
use it for
set-
anything else other than
Well,
township
and that's,
business.
but that's what it is, yeah. We try to gather the email addresses like that, but I don't know how many, we don't have that terribly many. We have,
No, and I
Maybe
think
100.
a blurb in this
yeah,
newsletter that goes out in the fall, half a page, whatever, I'm just talking out loud, I'm just thinking out loud, but
Sure,
just,
sign up
if
for-
you want a digital
Yeah.
sign up,
Yeah, why not?
a heck of a lot easier.
I mean, it's a great way to get information out.
Yeah.
It's a great way to get it out.
Chris, you got any comments on that, or?
No, I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. It's a nice thing to have. I think we got a lot of good feedback from the spring one. It's a hefty bill. I wish there was a better way to narrow in on the folks that want it digitally, but
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that, but, I mean,
Well, it wouldn't hurt for anything else either, too.
That's the trouble. Even if you had a list of, here's 500 people, we have emails for, and here's their addresses. Then you've got to go back and start cross-referencing and pulling out, and you end up spending more money doing that than you would if you just blasted out to everybody. You know what I mean? Because all you're saving at that point is the cost of printing and the postage.
Distribution, stuff like that. that's
Yeah.
true.
And then you've got the labor involved in going line, and then assuming you're gonna get them all, and you're not gonna miss somebody, that's the tough part.
What you here for?
yeah.
Communications.
You've never seen me proofread anything, have you?
And you know, you need glasses, that's for sure.
I'll work with the puppy, I'll leave it at that.
So I'll ask, if I can get a motion. For Minuteman Press to print the fall newsletter.
Okay, I'll move that we go with the fall newsletter in amount not to exceed what, usually says $3,600, put
Yeah.
a few bucks above it,
Yep.
to put out a fall newsletter and have it all mailed, completely taken care of, where the township residents, or not residents, but township employees have no involvement in it, so there's no internal labor.
No.
Okay.
that price does include, I want to confirm, all printing and all mailing at every address in the township.
If we have Sherry look all the stamps, will that give us anything off?
No.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, aye.
That's to give her a laugh. Aye.
Aye.
That's to give her a laugh when she watches the video.
Opposed?
Better not hang around me too much.
What if at the bottom of the newsletter, you have a little section that says, would you like to receive digitally next year?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're gonna
And they
do.
could send in, and then you could call those out of the list,
Something like that, yeah.
something, I mean, it's gotta be.
You know what, are we gonna get, will we get the actual email list as well? From Minuteman?
It's not email.
I mean, address list.
Well, I think they just use a program from the post office.
Getting the zip code or whatever.
All right, so we could get it, we should be able to get a dump of that, right?
Yeah.
All right, I've got a thought on that. I got a thought that might save us a little bit.
Build that base up back.
Yeah. Quicker we can do it, the better.
Yeah.
As far as how to send out communications, I've brought this up before, I'll bring it up again. You know, this isn't just about sending out a fall newsletter. If you do get the emails and do an email blast, you can do weather alerts, traffic alerts, events that are going on in the township, communications like this, and it doesn't cost anything.
I agree. But you gotta get the email addresses and.
You gotta take
and-
step one.
And a lot of folk, well, and we've tried at events we do, we always have a sign-up list. Do you wanna give emails? And if you do, we can put you on the list. But there's still folks that are hesitant about it just for the same reason, well, as soon as you get me on that email list, where's that email address gonna go? How many pieces of junk mail am I gonna get? There's the mental block to it as well. But I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%.
I mean, there's always, you can always think of a negative for something, always. You know, this is just gonna cost us another $3,500, and it shouldn't have to cost us $3,500.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right. Unfortunately, well, never mind, I won't even go there. Never mind.
Okay.
Do we have your email address?
Yeah, I believe you do.
Cool.
Yeah, I have no problem giving it. If you don't, let me know, I'll give it to you.
Okay. But you're right about all the other events.
Yeah.
We're trying to put that stuff on the website as well, but you gotta drive people to do that. And that's always a challenge.
If it would work for traffic, weather
Yep.
advisories,
Yep.
you know.
Road
You
closures,
need to
all that
avoid a
stuff.
road, especially, I know during the summer, he had a bad accident right at Ryan in 162.
Mhm.
That's a bad intersection.
Yep.
I came down there, the whole intersection was blocked, well, the accident had just happened.
Yeah.
So, and no police officers were there yet, they were on their way. Hey, get on there and start blasting to people. Avoid the area.
Oh, I-
Don't
I-
congest it up. These guys got enough to work with the accident.
I
Then it'd
agree.
be directing traffic.
I agree. But it's that first step of being able to get that raw information. And that's the hard part. But it's nothing we've given up on. Like I said, every time we have an event of some sort, we're gonna do it at our can't call it trunk or treat, or jack-o'-lantern jamboree. We're gonna do it there. We're gonna do it every time we get people together. We did it at the pancake breakfasts. I don't know how many people we got from there, but, you know, we didn't get a lot. But if you get 10 or 20 here and there, eventually you start to build it up.
That's it.
It's just a
Okay,
slow
gotta start with a
process.
small step.
Yep, just a slow process. Yep.
I've kind of found that when I'm having an event and I want to collect emails like
Mhm.
that, if I make a drawing out of it, give them a $25 gift card, but they fill out this little form with their email address, put it in a bin, you pull the number, and you got 200 email addresses.
That sounds like cheese for a rat.
It works great.
Mark, Fred, Rick will donate all the money for that.
Will they? Okay.
You didn't forget, did you?
All right, so the
All right.
next item, we already covered the damage to Ryan Road. Our guys are kind of being forced to do it ourselves, so.
We'll get it.
But yeah, we'll get the money from LEPO. All right, the next item is BZA letter. And I got a letter typed up, 3 pages, that I'm gonna send out to all the board members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. And what prompted me to do this is, I just got their last 2 meetings of approved minutes, and reading through it, and I'm certainly not gonna talk about their decisions by any stretch, but I do wanna talk to the trustees about my concerns. The first meeting was the one with their special meeting. So, reading through these minutes, and I'm gonna read a quote from Law Director Thorne, but this is the 3rd time in here that he said it to the board president, and Bill is quoted in here, The system works. I think your meeting is illegal. When you call a special meeting, the only thing you can consider is what the meeting was called for. This meeting was called based on what I read in your advertisement to deal with practices and procedures of the board. That is not what you were talking about. That's our law director telling the president of the board of the BZA that they're having an illegal meeting. And I'm just trying to see if I highlighted anything else on that one. No, I didn't. I guess my concern to the folks and to the trustees is our law director said it was an illegal meeting because they weren't talking about what they posted in the paper for a special meeting. He kind of got disregarded, and not only did he get disregarded, the meeting kept going, and then they approved the minutes. That to me is concerning. The trustees pick Mr. Thorne as our law director for the township. Not only is he the law director for this board of trustees, he's the law director for the zoning commission and the board of zoning appeals. So I'm not sure why they're not listening to his advice. And the second approved minutes was the one with the property behind Dollar General for the storage units. And of course, again, I'm not going to talk about how they came to their decision. That's up to them. But what's concerning to me is I'm quoting Curtis Perkins, who's the vice chair of the BZA. I guess I would have to ask our legal counsel, Thorne. The next person to talk is Justin. The president of the board said, no, Bill is not our legal department. You know, Bill is your legal department because we picked Bill to be our legal department, and that's the BZA legal department.
That's not true.
This is very true.
Okay. Well, if you want to address me
And
directly,
that
am I going to
that
give you
really-
an opportunity to rebut, or are we
You
just
will,
gonna play
but
politics?
once we're done talking with the trustees. This is very concerning to me because when we appoint these positions, they represent the trustees, they represent the township. And we can't, we just can't, we just can't have making up their own rules. I mean, if Curtis wants to ask the law director a question and then the president of the board says you're not allowed to, if I were Curtis, I'd be really doggone mad before you make a vote. I mean, their votes are extremely important. This bothers me. And I have to bring it up in open session because it's not an executive session item, so I would like to hear from the other two trustees if they had any concerns about that, but I would like to send this letter out to all the BZA board members so they understand that.
Well, the first one, where they approve the meeting minutes, I mean, they have to. If that's what was said in the meeting, they have no choice but to approve it. That has to be done. I was at that meeting. I was made fun of when I was at the meeting because I smiled. That's okay. But I agree, I remember the conversation going on, and people make mistakes. Make mistakes all the time. I've made my share. I made my share as a trustee. But you learn from them, you go on, and you correct. At least you try to. Not perfect, I'm not a career politician, never proposed to be one. But I do the best I can for the township. In that case, I do remember Bill specifically saying you can't talk about this. And you're right, it was just rolled over and kept right on going. So that is of concern. The second piece on that, and Justin, I'm very curious to hear your comments on that, because everything that I've been told and I've looked at is when we brought Bill on as legal counsel, he's legal counsel for the township. And BZA is part of the township. So, like it or not, he's your legal representation. If you don't want to use him as your legal representation, you can come to the board and ask for that for whatever reason. And if the board, I think this is the way it works. And the board, because it's never happened, the board would have to say it's okay, because now if you've got to go outside and spend money, I realize, and
Why would we be spending money? Our statutory legal counsel is the Medina County Prosecutor's Office.
Now,
2 years.
Justin, you
hold on.
asked me to, I was trying to finish, so you'll get plenty of time, I promise. I promise. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, he is the counsel for the township, period.
One of. You guys held a special meeting a few weeks ago, and you met with Mike Lyons and Medina County Prosecutor
Yep.
Forrest Thompson.
Yep.
So if Bill Thorne was the only legal counsel for the township, there would be no reason for Everett to meet with him. Additionally, they are the statutory legal counsel, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but in your capacity advising the board, you do not have absolute immunity like the prosecutor's office does, correct?
That's true.
So if you give advice, and the advice turns out to be wrong, even if it's the best of interest, even if it's a gray area where a different court agrees with you, the board, the BZA, or any other entity could be held liable. Whereas if they rely on advice of counsel from the prosecutor's office, that absolute immunity follows through, and we could not be held liable.
Wouldn't be absolutely, but generally the courts do not
Qualified
do it.
absolute.
But that's, you're talking about two different separate things.
But my point is, using the prosecutor's office as counsel is not something that this board itself hasn't done. Additionally, if
Wait,
we're
say
talking
that- I'm sorry,
That's
say
not
that
the-
again,
that's not
Justin?
what they're saying, though.
you use the prosecutor's office for counsel as well, correct?
Yes.
And the,
Go ahead.
so Bill Thorne is not the only legal counsel for the township. And additionally, he represents the Board of Trustees, not the township.
That's not
Is-
true.
That's not correct.
That's not true.
Why,
That's a-
hold on,
that's a-
why would you
that's a
say he
gray
only
area.
represents the trustees and not the entire township?
Because his professional obligation is to the three of you. If you do something, if you're looking for advice, he's gonna give you advice for your benefit and your professional role, not just for the township. That's his job, if there's a gray area.
I'm
I
not
don't
your
think
counsel
so.
for
So
the,
let's,
for the
let's
township.
address, since you guys brought it up, let's address the fact that we sat in this very room. It was November or December of '22, where it was pointed out that this very board had violated their own rules of publication notification.
You're right.
And Bill stated that he had advised you to do differently, and you still didn't post them. So every single meeting you held the first year of the three of you together was not legal. Additionally, if we're gonna play the game of semantics on a notice, the special meeting that you guys held at the beginning of July, when you had to hold a special meeting, I have a funny feeling that the catch-all of, to cover everything that we would have done in the regular meeting, wouldn't cut the mustard for clarifying what the purpose of that meeting in July was. So, everybody here knows exactly what we're doing with this notice. I mean, this has been, the special meeting that was held in March, I believe, April. It was actually right after Mr. Kittle's
It was
appeal.
March.
And we had asked the prosecutor's office to give us a legal opinion because the Board of Zoning Appeals didn't feel that you guys had operated within your authority.
Was
Mr.
that the
Thorne
first
sat in
person
back-
you asked for, by the way?
Mr. Thorne sat in the back of the room and stated that the answer could be given very quickly. Now, here we are, it's what, September 11th? That letter was sent to the prosecutor's office at the end of March. They still haven't answered. So if it was a very clear answer that you guys had operated within your bounds, why wouldn't they have just sent a letter back saying, yeah, everything's hunky-dory?
For the record, Justin, have you had any conversations with the prosecutor's office regarding this and why they've not answered you?
Absolutely.
You want to share what those are?
Yeah, they said they're working on it. Every time I've been
And
told
that
we
was the
will get an
only
answer.
thing you were told, for the record. That's the only thing you were told. Be very careful.
What do you mean?
For the record, I would like to know what, when you talked to the prosecutor's office, what they told you. And be very careful, please. And if you'd like to go back and reference notes, that's
No, I'm
okay.
gonna pull up the email from Forrest Thompson.
Bill, I quoted you. Do you want to add, since I quoted you?
On June
your
29th,
comments.
on June 29th, from
Yeah.
Forrest Thompson, Mr. Paroli, I'm checking on the status of your request with Mike Lyons. I assure you it is not being ignored. My apology for the delay, but I requested a status of this, on this request immediately upon receiving your request for update on June 14th. I also note that Mr. Lyons confirmed your request on March 30th. That was on June 29th. That's the last correspondence I've had with Mr. Thompson.
Is that the only person you've talked to at the
No,
prosecutor's
I talked
office?
to Mike Lyons. I've talked to Mr. Richter, but that's in regards to the appeal for the zoning unit, or for the storage units that's no longer even owned by the appellant.
Mhm.
But that's a separate issue, so I don't know
Yeah,
whether
that's
we
a different
talk
issue.
about that one. But again, the prosecutor's office is the statutory legal counsel for every public body. If one of those bodies chooses to hire outside counsel, as you have with Mr. Thorne, that's perfectly within your prerogative. There's nothing wrong with the board hiring Mr. Thorne to provide legal services. I've never said that there's anything wrong with that. But, as Mr. Thorne confirmed, it is slightly irresponsible in certain areas to use his service, because even if, in the best of his interests, he gives you guys advice that winds up biting the township in the butt, there's no coverage where the prosecutor's office offers that. That's always been my case, and that's why, as a quasi-judicial board, we go to the prosecutor's office when we need to. He has provided counsel in the past, but there does become a gray area when he's involved in helping to craft or discussing variances with the applicant beforehand, having him also advise the Board of Zoning Appeals. If he's worked with the applicant or even talked to the applicant, he probably shouldn't be advising the board as well. So that's why we've operated that way. It's nothing new.
Bill, you want to make some comments since your name's getting thrown around?
Well, I guess the only thing I can say is really the prosecutor's office has confirmed that it's up to the trustees who represents what board. I mean, that's basically what's happened, is what resulted here. It's not up to the zoning board of appeals, it's not up to the zoning commission. It's really up to the trustees who represents what.
So I just want to see if I understand then, based on what Marty was trying to infer. Is it your understanding that the prosecutor's office has told me at any point that they're not answering that question, that they're not stepping in? Because I can assure you that's never been the case.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay. Well, no, I know,
I
but I'm
know.
just saying, is that where you're
All-
going with that?
no, all
Because
I-
I've
all
always
I'm
just-
asking-
They've just strung me along for 5 months.
All right, all I'm asking is, was there any other reasons given to you as to why you weren't getting an answer, other than what you got from Forrest? And if you don't remember, that's
Well, no, I'm
okay.
just saying, Mike's mentioned things being on his tab in front of him, and then he had an assistant that was supposedly working on something, and then he said something about it was a difficult topic to broach, which I don't understand how it's a difficult topic to broach. They were fairly straightforward questions, but that's his prerogative, but they've never made any indication that they weren't gonna answer, they just haven't answered, and it's always been an explanation of needing more time or not getting to it, and
Okay.
the assumption is that they just have no
I
intent.
just
It
want to
doesn't
make
appear
sure,
they have any intention.
I just want to make sure that we have that for the record, that that's exactly what was said.
Okay.
Bill, you want
Thank
to
you.
add anything else, or?
No, like I said, I think your reason for putting out the letter is the prosecutor's comments that it's the board's prerogative as to who would represent on the appeal. I mean, the fact that you sent it to them doesn't mean they're gonna do it. It's up to the trustees. Do they want me to do it, or do they want the prosecutors to do it? And I think that's where you're coming from with your letter. And
Well, that's,
what,
okay, so I'm just trying to clarify, because now we're talking about a separate issue, we're talking about the appeal.
no, not just the appeal. I'm talking about who, on any particular interest, will represent the township or one of its boards. According to the prosecutor's office, it's up to the trustees.
Fair enough.
Do you accept that, Jester, or do you think that's kind of flawed?
Well, again, given that the interests aren't always the exact same, I mean, if we have a question about a policy or a procedure, yeah, I mean,
But we've had that problem, the prosecutor's office has the same problem.
well, here's the
Yeah.
thing, Bill, I'm not trying to argue with you, I'm telling you that the prosecutor's office has never presented
I-
the stance that you're putting out there
I know.
today.
This was something that they recently came out with.
Right, but they, again,
Whether they told you that, I
The
don't.
last conversation I had was with Mr.
And I
Baker, who
understand
said-
it. I-
Who said he was, who
When
was
you
gonna be doing
first-
the appeal. He asked for the documentation, which we gave him. And in the last conversation I had with him was advising him that the appellant
And I think
no
they're
longer
still
owned that
working on it.
property. So I didn't know whether that just kills the appeal or what the process is.
Can I ask a very, 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 very easy to answer question?
Sure.
In the future, if the BZA has any legal issues, will you go to legal counsel, Bill Thorne, or will you still want to go to someone else?
My only request.
Knowing what you don't know.
My only request then, and I think, and Bill can weigh in on his thoughts on it, but if that's the case, then I don't think Bill should have any contact whatsoever with any applicant, homeowner, I mean, he just shouldn't if he's gonna be advising the BZA on an appeal. That's my opinion. I think that creates too many opportunities for a conflict if Bill's having, as your legal counsel, it's perfect, like, that's
You
perfectly
keep saying
fine.
it's our legal counsel, as the township's legal counsel. Just, I'm not trying to get
Yeah,
picky,
you
but,
are.
no, I want to be clear to everybody. Bill Thorne is the legal counsel for the township of Lafayette, not for the Board of Trustees, not for the zoning inspector, not for the zoning board, not for the BZA, for the entire township.
Who hires and fires?
The same people that hire the BZA members, the trustees do.
Right. But that's also.
So what's your point?
Well, that's contained in the ORC. If he was really, if he was a law director as outlined in the ORC, he would be voted on by the people just like the four of you. But since he serves at your pleasure, at your choice, obviously, he serves the trustees before the township. Now, the.
Ooh, watch that
interest should always be
implication,
aligned.
Justin. I'd be very careful what you're implying.
In fact, I think the BZA and the zoning commission also serve at the pleasure of the trustees.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the job, my job is to represent the township, not a particular board or position, which is why I told the board they were wrong when you raised it the last time in terms of the meeting notices. They were wrong, and they needed to correct it, and they did. May take them a while to do it, but they did. And then the prosecutor's office, I was with the process 42 years. We had the same issue every time. Alice or our zoning inspector come in on an issue, we'd give them advice, it would get appealed, then we're talking the zoning board of appeals. It's nothing new. It's a continuing issue.
I got you.
And I say, I think what it's saying is if you feel the conflict is too great, don't have to ask to have the prosecutor's office. I think the prosecutor's office on the appeal, which I thought was appropriate to send to them, because I never thought they would want me to do it, but that's the question that came up. Why, do the trustees really want them to do it, or they want me to do it? That's where this is all coming
But
from.
when the appeal is filed, I just, serious question, when the appeal is filed, who was the appeal filed against?
The township.
No, it wasn't. It
No,
was the
you,
Board of
no,
Zoning.
you are a court. It is not, it's an appeal of your decision,
The
but it's
filing
at
right
the,
on it says, the plaintiff and then verse Lafayette Township Board of Zoning Appeals.
but it's not correct. It's the
Okay.
trustees.
Okay.
It's the township, excuse me, not just the trustees.
I'm just going by
Your-
the
your-
court
yeah,
filing. You can
your-
look at the
your-
court filing
Your
up.
function, you're quasi judicial. It's just like a court, when the defendant or plaintiff appeals a decision, the court is just the court.
Okay.
Just the way it is. And that's the issue that came up. And I thought, again, I had no problem with you sending it down. I thought that was just a logical place to go. But again, the issue came up, do we really want us to do it, or why don't Bill do it? You know, I wanted them to do it too.
Well, I can understand why they don't want more work on that, but they obviously who does?
What was
So-
troubling
so,
during the hearing?
To roll all this back together, maybe we can put a nail in the coffin. In the future, if this comes up, you will go to
Sure,
Paul
if
Director
that's-
Thorne.
That's
If-
never been a
no, no,
directive
no,
that's
no,
been
hold-
given, but if that's the directive that's
Okay.
given, absolutely.
Well, I think that's the directive needs to be,
Fair
from what
enough.
Bill says. Now, if you feel there's an issue with going to Bill is gonna be a conflict or a problem or an issue, whatever, you need to come to the trustees and say, hey, I've got an issue with this, can we go to somebody else?
Fair enough.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Great.
What was troubling to me in that hearing is that the vice chair was disallowed to confer with our law director. He wanted to, and he was then told by you that he couldn't do it. That's particularly troubling to me, because that's kind of a procedural thing. It wasn't Bill arguing for or against the merits of the case or anything. And that's a disturbing thing, because
Do you
that
recall
robbed
what
the
the question-
entire
what was the
BZA.
question that-
Hang on a second, that robbed the entire BZA of hearing Bill's response to it.
What was Curtis's question?
I don't recall what it was off the top of my head, but he wasn't allowed to, you shut him down. I don't, what was it? Right here. Well, it says, I guess I would have to ask our legal department, Thorne.
What was that in response to?
I don't,
That's clearly a response to something else.
does it matter?
Would
Shouldn't
it
he be
matter what
allowed
the-
to
Sure,
respond?
sure it does. If it's-
Why?
It may not
Why?
even have been something that
Why?
was a legal question.
If you have someone on your.
Because
No, 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 no,
Oh, I thought you asked me why.
No, I'm looking at Justin right now, please. You'll have your chance, Chase. I promise. If you have somebody on your board that wants to ask.
Yeah, I guess
law
what he's
director
asking, he
Thorne
would
a
ask
question,
about public versus private
Perfect.
roads.
Why wouldn't he be able to ask him? Why would you not want to let him ask him? I see what Chris is saying. I don't understand that.
He just explained that, Marty.
No, he didn't.
Well, depending on what the question is, we may very well have already addressed it as a board, and it may have very well been one of the various Duncan factors that we were discussing that doesn't need a legal question. That's why I was asking Law Director
Okay.
Thorne, where you, what it was that was in
So,
response to
let's
what
say
he
that's the
wanted.
case. Let's say you're absolutely right. And Curtis still had maybe some confusion in his own mind, or wasn't clear on something, and he was asking opinion. What harm would that be to ask opinion?
None.
Okay, that's all. I think that's what Chris
It
is
looks
getting
like
at.
what he wanted to ask about was who was responsible for public and private roads? And that's,
Which we had already discussed at length and.
but apparently he was not, no, your response was, no, they are public roads, and this was, I guess he would have to ask our legal department. So I guess he was asking about
The
private,
difference between a public and a private road.
Private road,
which
yeah.
Is not something that is unfamiliar to the discussion that we had, which was the fact that our zoning code would have required that property to build a public road, which would have been the responsibility after building to be owned by the township. We had already covered that. There was really nothing more for Bill to weigh in
And
on.
Justin, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I wasn't there, but you may have covered it 16 ways to Sunday. But if you've still got a member on your board that isn't clear on it, I don't see what the harm would be in letting him
We
answer.
had already discussed the fact that.
But it wasn't clear to him.
that-
I mean,
well.
maybe I'm missing
I don't think
something.
it's the chairs can cut them off either. I mean, the chair is the chair. He's just the first among equals. The other board members still can do their own thing, ask their own questions.
Fair enough.
No, I don't think so, but that's your opinion. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Two things. This is not the decorum to handle this subject matter. You don't need to air laundry out in front of the rest of the people here. That was not right.
They do, just
That
like
was
the
not right.
newsletter.
Now,
This is
unfortunately,
campaign.
Justin's right, they do. They can only act as a board.
This is 100% campaign, but.
That's number one. Number two, it says law director on your thing, and I'm not gonna argue that, but you are hired by the board or contracted by the board, you're not an elected official.
Right.
You're here to advise the board.
I'm here to advise the township.
You never advised me.
Well, you're not the township. You're a resident of the township.
Oh.
I do deal
We
with
can
the
get
zoning
into
commission.
semantics, but the bottom
No,
line is
I don't. I
you're-
deal with the
you're
zoning
here to
commission.
try-
I deal with the zoning inspector. I advise the building department, the highway department.
Right.
I do it all.
May I interject real quick,
But
Ron?
the bottom line is they select you.
That's right.
Okay. Just like I've had legal counsels represent me for years.
Right.
Okay. They select me. We're not an elected official.
Right.
Okay. Got that. But this is not, if you want to have a special meeting or
Doesn't make
something
it,
like
it's
that.
got to be public.
It's gotta be
You
a
know.
public meeting.
If you have a disciplinary issue or procedural issue, that's what this sounds like.
No, they're not trying to do
So what is this?
They're just
This
giving them
big
some direction.
discussion.
Yeah, it's a
Marty's
discussion.
trying to make a point. Ty brought it up. Chris had a simple question of somebody on a BCA board questioning the whole thing, of whether they should or shouldn't get counsel or whatever like that. Why, these are all internal procedures. Why are you airing them out here?
Because they have to.
Because we have to.
Legally, they have to.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ron.
Chris, was there anything else that you wanted to add? Are you good with that, or?
I'd like to piggyback real quick. if
Go
you
ahead,
don't
quick.
allow me. All right, so to Ron's point, all right? If we're gonna accept the premise that Law Director Thorne represents the township and not just the trustees, why, when we sat at a public meeting, that you agreed had not been properly noticed, why didn't you shut it down right then and there if you served the township and not the trustees?
Same reason I didn't shut yours down. They didn't have the authority to.
But
I give
you-
legal advice. They're free to ignore it, just like you did.
Good.
So that's like a simple question, just if you give legal advice, Bill, and then like somebody gives wrong advice to somebody else that you provide legal advice to, is it or is it not your obligation maybe to explain that he was just given false information when it pertains so heavily to you? Does that make sense? Right, so
No.
like, why wouldn't you
No.
just be like, well, actually, Justin, you're wrong, Curtis, look, I can answer that question. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you interject like in that manner? To me, that doesn't make sense that you wouldn't, and that we bring this up in a public situation.
Would've been
without
public
that-
there,
that-
too.
Like, I'm just, what's that?
It would have been public there too.
Well, no, I get that, but like, why wouldn't you interject? If
I did.
If Ty says, look, Chris, don't ask, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you just be like, well, actually, yeah, he can tell me. I'm just curious, that's my only question. Okay.
I didn't
So
think
it's
it
just-
was, I didn't think it was
collective-
appropriate, just I tried to
It was a
override that.
collective mistake, essentially, right, is where I'm at with it. And I don't know why this went so far, other than what's not.
Because it's campaign season.
Yeah, I know, and that's why, so my secondary question real
Campaign
quick is,
season,
we
that's
talked.
not it.
called the kettle black.
In fact, later in that same meeting, in the
no.
minutes,
Real-
where I
real-
stood up
Yeah,
and I
it's
said
real
that I'm
quick.
neither for nor against that variance request,
Right.
you flat out accused me of being with the appellant on
What-
that.
what did you
And then
say?
you later in the
What was the
meeting
comment?
said that I've been in office for 18 months, you could have changed the zoning code at any time.
You could have.
Not by myself.
Absolutely
And
not.
you
but-
made, you
but-
made a false
but
impression.
you made a
And that's the
unilateral-
campaign
you
season,
made a
Justin.
unilateral
That's exactly
statement.
what you were doing, buddy.
What was the statement that I had an issue with that you made?
We're gonna cut this off right now, and I can do that, because I am the chair.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's enough on that subject, but I'm, you know, you hate to do it, but you gotta do it in public. So this may not be put to bed, Bill, I'm gonna tell you that straight up, it still does upset me. I'm obviously not asking for a vote by the trustees tonight, but I still wanna continue our conversations about if there's a next step that we have to look into or not, so.
Well, no, we
yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah, okay, old business. Marty, looks like you got two of them on there.
On a lighter note, just want to remind everybody about our shredding event. Saturday, November 23rd from 9 a.m. till noon at Township Complex. It'll be a hands-off shredding event. If you pull up, you have stuff in your car.
It's not November, it's September.
Did I say November? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
September.
And it's the 13th, not the 23rd.
September 23rd.
23rd.
Well, your minutes there say,
It says 23rd.
okay, I didn't have my glasses. I apologize.
You want Laura's glasses too?
Well, I know you got the month screwed up, but I screwed up the date, so sorry.
All right, but this is, again, this one is a little bit different than we did in the past. This one, if you don't want to get out of your car, you don't have to. If you've got the stuff in the trunk, you pop the trunk, we'll take it out and they'll put it through the shredder and grind it all up for you. It's kind of a neat way to do it. And it is from 9 until noon. Please don't get there at 11:59 with a semi-load to get shredded. Give them some time. They had said that they normally recommend we put on limits as to how much you can bring in. We're not doing that, but be reasonable. If you've been collecting newspapers for the last 45 years and decide you want to shred them all, please don't do that. Okay. What would you have?
Are there any?
Jamboree.
Yes.
Are there any special conditions? Like one year, I remember drove up and I had all these files, my old files and stuff like that. I brought them up and the guy said, hey, you what?
Just common
Or
sense.
paper clips.
Yeah,
and
paper
stuff like
clips,
that.
binder clips, things like that, things that'll gum up a shredder. Yeah, you don't want to have any metal in there. You can't put through CDs,
Right.
like the data discs, things like
The
that. or-
staples are fine, right? That's the only reason I was asking, because
You
I
know
was
what?
like, I sat there and I'm
I
like,
have a
I'm
hard
tearing
time
the corners
believing-
off of all these papers.
Let me find out, and I will let you know, and I'll have Sherry post it on the website
It's
as
way-
well.
yeah.
So if you wanna know the answer, you have to go to the website to look for it.
Okay.
All right? I will drive you to the web, and you have to supply your email address to get to the answer.
Get to the answer.
Okay. I will find, I'd be surprised if Staples were,
I was
binder
surprised.
clips, yeah, binder clips are an
Binder
issue.
clips I can understand, but the
Paper
staples I
clips
couldn't
even,
understand.
yeah, but
Yeah.
staples shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was
All right.
the time that the thing broke down, they had to bring in a truck with a different kind of shred, I don't know. All I know is I showed up,
I wanted to do a big open burn, but nobody else wanted to do that, so we'll let that one go.
hey, we got a fire station.
Yeah, I know. All right, next, our Jack-o'-lantern Jamboree, formerly known as the Trunk or Treat event. Saturday, October 28th, it is going to be here at the fire station. This is going to be different than anything we've done in the past. We have never done anything quite this large. We're going to have a whole variety of things. You're going to have tours of the fire station. We will have hamburger and hot dog barbecue. It will be free. We'll ask for donations. The donations, the board will decide what charity all the money's going to go to. We are going to have EMA's emergency response trailer here, the command center's here. Obviously, we'll have fire truck here. We need to talk about the bounce house as well. Getting a bounce house here for the kids.
We need to call insurance.
Yeah, I know. That's what, we need to talk about that. But that's one of the things on there. We are gonna have, surprise, we're gonna have Medina City Police here with at least a cruiser. The parks are gonna be up here. Medina County Park will be up here with the big table set up where they're gonna have stuff for the kids to play with. Joe is not here, but Joe Fraser is gonna be up here with his tractor and big trailer for hay rides for the kids or the adults. It should be a lot of fun. There'll be tons of candy for the kids and the adults. Reese's peanut butter cups for your favorite trustee. That'd be me, Chase, just so you know. And again, we're still looking at other things coming. What we're trying real hard to do is get everything donated so there's no expense on the township at all. We've got several places already have agreed they'll donate. GFS said they would give a gift card. Geigs Orchard said they were gonna donate, it was either 8 or 10 gallons of cider. Richard's Farms, apples, we're gonna do a dunk tank.
Who's in the dunk tank?
No, apple
We
dunk
get
tank.
to vote.
Apple dunk tank.
Okay, I thought you were
I
talking about.
thought you were going in the dump tank.
You don't wanna see me wet, you really don't, I'm bad enough dry. Dollar General's agreed to donate, candy or waters or whatever. But we're trying to go to all the different areas to get donations to come in, rather than having to pay any money for that. But it should be a lot of fun, it should be an awful lot of fun.
What's the date again?
It is,
October 28th. He didn't mention the time, noon to 2.
Noon to 2.
That's pushing a lot of stuff into 2.
That's a lot of
so
stuff in
it's
2
gonna be
hours.
like noon to question
My
mark.
guess is it'll be noon, also, we're gonna have a group of therapy dogs in here, and we're gonna have a group of canine search and rescue dogs in to do a mock search and rescue demonstration, as well as a mock cadaver recovery demonstration.
Any drug sniffing dogs?
We will not use, no, you'll be safe to come, Alice.
Okay, good.
But it should be a lot of fun. It should be an awful lot of fun. Hopefully, we'll get a good turnout. Hopefully, get a good turnout. Okay, any
That's it.
questions on that one? Okay, Whew, I'm done.
Well, I would have liked to end the meeting on that note, but there's a page 2, so. It never stops. Okay, so last meeting, and I know we talked about it months prior as well, just a couple little warning shots, but last meeting, I asked the trustees to do their due diligence and gather their thoughts on the Westfield Township reciprocal agreement that's coming up at the end of this year, either continue to do it or to not. So I would like to bring that up for discussion.
What is a reciprocal agreement?
The road department, it's a contract, we help each other out with hours and keep track, and then they help and we help them.
For
and-
snow and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
a little bit of snow, but mostly just regular maintenance. So I've actually been watching this. I've been liaison for roads for 2 years, and
How's it work?
I don't see any advantage to why we would need it.
Yeah, I was sort of saying, whose favor does it mostly work in?
I would say it could very well favor in their favor.
Okay.
But I think they gotta figure some stuff out on their own. Previous trustees before us had set the framework of the road department, 3 full-timers, 2 part-timers. Part-timers are just for summer mowing, you know, burn mowing, stuff. And it works. It works actually very, very well, and the guys are very efficient, and then you got our neighbors to the south, nothing wrong with them, I mean, and they're good people, but they only have one person, and they hire everything done, so, I mean, the way they run their township's different than the way we run ours. I favor ours for safety, and because we're on the roads, so,
And we have
I'll-
a crew that can handle it, right?
yes,
We have-
very
we
much
have
so.
staff and crew that can handle it.
So before I give the floor up to the other 2 trustees, I would motion that we do not renew it.
I'm of the opinion that it's not necessary. I mean, we can ask for help from any other surrounding townships and provide help to any of the other surrounding townships, and wouldn't be afraid of doing that either way. I have nothing against Westfield at all.
No.
We wouldn't need an agreement just to.
Correct, correct.
If there's an emergency, if there's
Yeah.
4 trees laying over the road, yeah, we're gonna help each other out for criminy sakes, but to schedule day-to-day maintenance is just kinda
Yeah.
But
crazy.
that was
It's just crazy.
I would agree with that. It had its place at one point, but I think that we've evolved beyond needing that now. And I agree, I think, I think Westfield is gonna be more disappointed in not having that coming back, because they can always throw more money at it if they need to, but they don't have the bodies. And especially come plow season, you need bodies. Money doesn't do you anything, you need people.
Yep.
They fixed their
Good
fire
people.
station, so what help do they need from us anymore?
So I would second your motion. You motion to let it lapse?
Yes, I did motion to just let it lapse and not renew it.
You're gonna let them know?
Yeah, I will let
Okay.
them know. Chris, you're seconding
I
it?
second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, I will let them know. Is there a need for an executive session?
Yes, I would like one. Pursuant to ORC 121.22, paragraph G, 1 and 3, employee discipline and imminent/pending litigation.
Okay. Roll call for executive session.
O'Neill, yes?
Orcola, yes.
Fullerton, yes. And the time is 9:12.
I'd also like to invite Law Director Thorne and our zoning assistant, Tim Kassouf.
And the other 2 trustees and Laura?
Yes.
Okay, still
You
9:12.
thought you were gonna go get cake, didn't you?
I doubt there could be any left by this
It's all
point.
gone, you know that.
All right.
We could send you back to work, it might feel more favorable if you come back.
You timed out, called the.
Yeah, I- All right, we're back out of executive session. It's 9:46 PM. No decisions were made in the executive session. I would like to move to adjourn and pay the warrants to the town.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. Okay, it is
Good night.
9:47.
What are the warrants of the township?
The bills,
Oh, the bills, okay.
Gotta pay those darn bills, or
Yeah,
they
you
come
gotta
turn
pay
the
the
light
bills.
off.